Well, on today's episode, we're talking about today's episode of Martial Arts Radio. You guys left me a ton of great stuff in the Facebook group, so we're going to unpack stuff about weapons and choosing a school and all kinds of other good stuff. Stick around. We roll in 15. Coffee. Everything in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Thursday. It's November 18th, 2021. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Good morning, Tommy. How was your Wednesday? I had an interesting Wednesday. Things shuffling around, clients, nope. I mentioned there was a potential client. They no-showed on me, emailed me later. There was an emergency. Sounds like an actual emergency, so I'm not upset. But there was all this rearranging of the day, and I got so much done. Andrew and I plowed through our free training day debrief because there are a bunch of after items that have to be done. Like, I got to email everybody. And I wanted to make sure that we got the right stuff in the emails, but I couldn't even get to that stuff until yesterday. So those emails will go out, if not today, tomorrow. It's important we do it this week. Good morning, Jenny, and good morning, Dennis. Dennis says, welcome to the Thursday before Thanksgiving. Yes, it is. Are we going to have a first cup on Thanksgiving Day? Why not? Most likely. I'll be out. And so it was like 2:45, 3 o'clock. I was just so fried from plowing through so much work. I just stopped working. It was great. The new tool that I'm using, Motion, usemotion.com. I've been reaching out to them on a few things with tech support. But what's interesting is I've got enough background in what this stuff does on the IT side that it's very clear they've stopped answering me like I was anybody else. Hey, so here's this problem I'm experiencing. Here's what's going on. It kind of feels like it's a caching issue, and maybe there's a timing thing that needs to be done with one of the update checks. And they're writing back. They're like, okay, so we just released a new version. Can you dig in and blah, blah, blah. Sure, I'll be your beta tester. I love this program. It's amazing. Good morning also to Daniel. I do try to greet everyone as they come through. Tommy says, my Wednesday was great. Tons of great feedback from free training day at my school last night. That is wonderful to hear. Tommy put on a great session. For those of you who were not there, he taught an introduction to Kung Fu Fan. And it was very well attended. I don't know if I told him this in person, but I'll tell everybody here. When you put on an event like that where there's a tool, a weapon that is not popular, people tend to shy away from it. But what I love about our group, about this community of free training day attendees, is that it seemed to have the opposite impact. Here's a thing I've never been able to do before. I want to go do that. I think his was the biggest session of those three. Well, let's talk about today's episode of Martial Arts Radio, because it's kind of a doozy. We've been doing some dooziest. I don't know, it's getting dangerously close to douchiest, but it's doozy. We've been doing some episodes of late that are a little more passionate, that dig into some frustrations that I have. That I don't know how much Andrew gets frustrated, because he always seems happy. So maybe he doesn't get frustrated in the same way I do. But anyway, today's episode is titled Bucket of Crabs. And that's an analogy that if you've been listening to or watching Martial Arts Radio for a long time, you know that I've used that analogy often. Here's the premise of the analogy. You don't have to put a top on a bucket of crabs in a restaurant walk-in cooler, because The moment one gets an arm over, assuming that they're not packed to the top, assuming one manages to climb on top of enough stretch, get its arm, claw over, and is about to pull itself up, others will try to get out by pulling them down. And that is the best analogy I have for what we do in the martial arts world to each other. Instead of building a human crab ladder to get out of the bucket and get everybody out of the bucket and move everyone up, we stand on each other and squish down, and it doesn't work well. We've been doing it for a long time. It's not working. Time to change strategies. Matt says, that is my current life. Good morning, Liz. So you can check out that episode. It's on YouTube. It's all over. They put it all over. Why not? Andrew, should we put the videos also on Facebook? I don't know. You tell me. Let's talk about it. Today, what's going on today? I'm driving to do some training. I really planned this week out poorly. I really did. Like, let's come out of free training day and have a day of recording and have a day of being on the road. Whoops. But I'm almost caught up. I have one person, one client's website work that I probably have 1 to 2 hours to do to catch up and feel like I'm not behind on things. So knock on wood. That may happen today, depends on how fried I am. I'm usually fried from hours of training and then hours and hours in the car. But if I can get to it today, I will. Otherwise, it'll happen tomorrow. And I've already reached out to this client and said, hey, this is what's going on. If all of my clients were like this one and just, yeah, get to it when you get to it, I would have a much easier life. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Almost everybody is like that. I've got a couple people who will reach out and, hey, can you do this thing now? No, I can't. No, I can't. And then what am I doing later? Dinner with friends. I think that's it. Went to the gym yesterday, walked, just moved because I sat at my desk all day. And I was pacing while I was on calls with clients. I was pacing. Everybody knows that I do this. And so I got some steps in that way. I also think better when I'm walking like that. Yeah. Not the most exciting day, but a productive day, a necessary day. Excuse me. And now let's dig into what you guys wrote. Daniel says, man, am I ever tired of, but I need it now because XYZ. Yeah, you and the other 70 people I'm dealing with. So Daniel, I'm assuming that's similar to what I used to experience when I had my IT company. And we had a really simple way of solving that. Okay, we handle everything in the order it comes in unless you pay to go to the front of the line with an emergency fee. And then what we would usually do with the emergency fee is we would take roughly half of it and kind of distribute it back to the people that were impacted. We wouldn't give them money, but maybe round down their bill a little bit and tell them, hey, just wanted to let you know, somebody came in with an emergency. We had to bump you back a little bit, but we rounded some time off the bill. And they're like, wow, thank you. That's amazing. And you make more money from it. If you ever want to, Daniel, if you ever want to go deeper on the IT company I ran for 15 years, I've still got all the documents, all the forms, everything we ever did. I still have that. I simply deal with everything in order. I like that plan though. Yeah. You got to have an option to rearrange in there. If life is too complicated for a first in, first out or last in, first out. We've got to have some variability in there. And I don't just mean in computer repair, I mean in everything. There's always, good morning, Craig. Look at all my friends rolling in. All right. And my friends posted a ton of stuff on the Facebook group. This is the kind of day I like. There is so much here that I'm going to move fast-ish. If you've been watching for a long time, you know that sometimes there's not a lot here, and I have to find a way to stretch it to fill the time. And sometimes I can't even do that, and we end early. I'm going to start with Frank, because Frank always makes sure I have stuff to talk about, and I appreciate him. Frank and I have a call tomorrow, if I remember correctly. On this day in 1878, Mitsuyo Maeda was born. He is credited with bringing Judo from Japan to Brazil, which led to BJJ. So here are 3 BJJ quotes. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Mitsuyo Maeda. Now, I don't know if that's originally attributed to him. I've heard it all over the place. Of course, none of the places that I've heard it are older than he would be. But I really like that concept. And if you came to free training day and you attended the session Andrew and I taught, it is a very, very simple way of condensing the concept of working slow motion. Slow movement allows you to address detail and nuance no matter what you're doing. I don't care if it's forms. I don't care if it's sparring. I don't care if it's basics. I don't care if it's... There's a dog in my yard. Hi, dog. Oh, I know which dog that is. That's Milo. Hi, Milo. That's my neighbor's dog over there. Usually, a couple minutes later, it's followed by a kid in my yard coming to get the dog. But that concept of remaining slow to do anything, I think is really important. When I spent a lot of time in CrossFit and went for my Olympic weightlifting certification, they talked about slow is smooth, smooth is fast, with these very complex movements where you're putting heavy weights over your head. But slow makes it harder. Well, yes and no. If you move a little slower, you can hit all the points you need to hit. You have better technique. Better technique makes things easier. And if you focus in that way, ultimately things do speed up without even trying, and you just get better. Wow, look at all these comments coming in. Tommy says, BJJ, tap, nap, or snap, your choice. Oh, now both of the neighbors' dogs are running around. If I can't have my own dogs in my yard, I have no issue with my neighbors' dogs being in my yard. Goobers. Always assume that your opponent is going to be bigger, stronger, and faster than you, so that you learn to rely on technique, timing, and leverage, rather than brute strength. Helio Gracie. And if you read anything about Helio Gracie and what he was able to do as a practitioner, we talk about a lot of Gracies in the martial arts world. We don't often, outside of the BJJ communities, talk about Helio. And if you don't know who Helio is, he's the guy, he's the dad. And from the accounts I've read, was an absolute monster, but quiet about it. You didn't know he was until he twisted you up like a pretzel. Next. If you ask me what belt I am today, I'll tell you that I'm a white belt that never gave up. Jacques Machado. There's another famous family name in the BJJ world. That was one of the things I liked about Free Training Day, was I didn't see anybody not being open-minded. There were plenty of things that, people came to me and they're like, this thing that this person taught, that was pretty much spot on with what I'd learned, or this person taught this thing and I don't quite agree with it. But I didn't see anything or hear anybody say, I can't believe that person taught that thing. That thing was stupid. They don't know what they're doing. Rah, rah, rah. I didn't get any of that. Not one bit. And that's part of the magic of the format that we've put together. And it's something that's really important to me personally. And this is gonna, we'll flip this into Dennis's question. The idea of remaining a white belt. And there were people who intentionally, Linda Lane, who's been on Martial Arts Radio, showed up. She wears a white belt. Her crew, there were 3, 4 she brought with her, all wore white belts. There's nothing wrong with this. This notion that you have to parade your rank around. It's not necessary. Nobody cares. The only people who care are the people who are higher ranked than you and care. They look at how many stripes are on your belt and they're like, oh, I have more stripes. I'm better. Nobody cares. I do not have stripes on my belt. I do not want stripes on my belt. It looks like I may end up with a belt with stripes. I will not wear it unless my instructor forces me to. I feel strongly about this. There's no, to me, there's no value in stripes. Let me correct that. To me, there is little value in stripes. There are circumstances where I can say it. Moving on. Oh, I gotta flip back. Questions, comments. What are you guys saying in here? Dennis says, we had a fox running past our house and down the street yesterday. Ooh, fun. Tommy, Tai Chi is done slow. That's one of the reasons as well. Good stuff. Thank you. Liz says, morning puppy meeting. Craig says, I'm getting you a zebra belt for your birthday. I would be tempted to wear that. Oh, they're picking on me a little bit. I'm quite fine with it. All right. So Dennis says, Jeremy, you recently trained in a new school for a few weeks. I did. While it did not turn out to be a good fit, no, it was not. For what you were looking for in your training, new experiences in martial arts are never a bad thing. I agree. If you had the opportunity to start training under a new instructor, living or past, who would that be and why? And what would your overarching goal be? The why is a lot easier. The why and the goals. My goal is to learn. My goal, if I'm going to train with someone, there's a difference to me between training with someone and under someone. If I'm going to train with someone, that can be just about anybody. If you know anything that I don't know, or even have a different way of teaching it, or I just want to train with somebody, I will train with you. If I'm going to call someone my instructor, that's a different thing. I'm very selective on who I will call my instructor. If someone is my teacher, they have taken me as a student, I have taken them as an instructor. This all sounds a little more like the way it's kind of cliche discussed in Kung Fu, that they make a big deal about this. I make a big deal about this because that person not only has to have knowledge and in an area that I do not. You know, we're talking more than a couple things, but they also have to be a good person. They have to treat people well. They have to model the behavior that they want their students to have. And unless someone checks both boxes, I'm not calling them an instructor. My goal in training under someone else is to get better in some way. It could be, hey, let's work jujitsu. My jujitsu is kind of poor, whether we're talking Japanese or Brazilian. Or let's say it's someone who, let's say it's karate. Karate is pretty good, but plenty of ways it can get better. Plenty of different flavors of karate. I grew up with certain karate concepts, and there are plenty of others that I could train. So that's the why, that's the goal. Now, if I could train with anybody, It's funny. This is where half the people who come on martial arts radio, actually not so much anymore, but back when this was an important question, because I wasn't a great interviewer, half the people would say Bruce Lee. Of all the people to train with, I don't think anybody has more material out there to reference than Bruce Lee. I would want to train with probably someone like Funakoshi, but not Funakoshi at the end. Early Funakoshi. I don't know if you guys hear that. Gunshot. It's hunting season. Funakoshi or similar, at the time where he is really thinking hard about what's going to go into what becomes Shotokan. Because I want to be around that thought process. I suspect that most of these early martial arts pioneers at some point went through a phase where they were really thoughtful about what and how and why, and that really interests me. So that's my answer. Daniel says, I know a martial arts podcast that used to ask a very similar, who would you like to train with, living or dead? That sounds like a great show. Everyone should probably listen to it. Tommy's agreeing with me, which, as I believe the only Chinese practitioner in the room, means something. So thank you. Says Sifu Sensei teacher should be endearing. Yes, it's a big deal in Kung Fu. Well said, Jeremy. Thank you. Thanks, Daniel. All right. And so Chris Ricard, who I was so thankful to meet this past weekend. What a good dude. Quoting Chris Wilder, but not sure if he got it from somewhere else, martial arts is an individual study set in a group atmosphere. Yes. There is nothing wrong with training on your own. It should happen. It's an important aspect to development. And the further along your path you get, the more training you probably should do on your own. But when you think of all the things that we do in martial arts, most of them are better with other people. Is it easier to identify where your technique needs improvement or identify where someone else's technique needs improvement? Is it easier to practice sparring and develop skill for self-defense or competition or whatever in the context of shadowboxing or with partners? Is it more fun to train on your own or with other people? If something's more fun, you're more likely to do more of it more often. So yes, an individual study set in a group atmosphere. And I think that that is why it is so appealing to so many people who did not flourish in team sports. It's like when I go to the co-working spot. I'm doing my own work, but I'm around other people, which is motivating. It's like when I go to the gym and I lift weights. I'm doing hard work, but I'm around other people. We are social beings, and some of us want an intense social arrangement, team sports, being parts of groups, intentionally being parts of groups that must have everybody working together to pull something off. I was never one of those people. I'm getting better. Andrew and I talked about that as one of the things that went really well this past weekend. The team crushed it. There were things going on I didn't have to worry about because people did their job. And let's face it, they all volunteered to be there. Some people paid substantial amounts of money to be there because they see the vision. They know what we're working on. They get it. And as things like that happen, I become a little more trusting of being part of a team, being part of a group. I think we need both. Stacy agrees. So many introverts do martial arts. And Daniel says it depends on the people. Tommy agrees. And then Daniel says it really does. It's easy to get up and go to class to see your friends when you're not really feeling it. Yes. And I think that that's an important aspect to remember, that when you join a martial arts school, there's a commitment there. You're making a commitment to yourself, but you're making a soft commitment to other people, that you're there to help them in a number of ways. You're there to all provide mutual support, to contribute energy, to contribute bodies to drills. And if you don't show up, the group is less than it would be with you there. Are there people who bring a group down? Yep. But those people tend to wash out of a good martial arts school because the instructor holds them accountable. And if they're not willing to step up, they wash out. I'm thinking of a few people who went from, I don't like you and I don't like training with you, to just, I don't like you. That's okay. I've trained with plenty of people I didn't like. Some of whom were great training partners. It's okay. Liz agrees. All right. Some of these side conversations, I'm just gonna, I just leave, not because I don't want to put them out, but because stepping in and out of the conversation that you guys are having, I get it, but it's not going to be as appealing to the people watching. And just a reminder, if you're watching later or you're listening later, I do my best to convey the full live experience to you. And I'm thankful that you watch or listen. If you really want like the meat of what we do, you gotta show up live. All right, and one more. Excuse me, Josh has been doing an awesome job of leaving me stuff to talk about. I appreciate it. 13th Hour Podcast. Don't forget to check him out. My instructor often says that the thing you avoid is what you tend to need to practice most. Yes. For example, I tend to find practicing with weapons less interesting, so don't do it very much and lose the training benefits they might offer. I'm working on it. That's it, not me. What are some of the things y'all avoid but probably should be doing more of? Good question. If I was going to make a list, prioritized list of all the things that I do most and then look at what I do the least, I would say what I'm doing the least right now that I should be doing more of is forms. The way my training is going right now, it's a lot of basics. There's some freeform stuff going on. There's some partners, some sparring stuff. But I'm not doing forms often, and I like doing forms. And I'm not sure why. I should probably spend some time thinking about why. Why am I not doing something I like? Maybe because my living room is covered in piles of stuff that need to move before I don't have anywhere to do forms. That's a silly excuse, but it is a real one. Craig says, before I started training, I was always nervous to talk in front of groups and a bit shy. Needless to say, I'm not that anymore. No, you are not. No, you are not, my friend. All right, time to go. I think I've got everything packed up for my day. Please go check out that episode of Martial Arts Radio, Bucket of Crabs. Tell me what you think. I want to know what you think. In case anyone watches or listens and they're newish and they haven't heard me say this before, the goal of these episodes is not that I want you to believe what I say. And Andrew was on board with me on this. The goal is to make you think. If you listen and you hear and you process and you come to a completely different conclusion that you can understand, I don't even care if you can explain it to someone else. If it makes sense to you, by all means, then we're doing our job. Join us every weekday, 6:30 a.m. for First Cup. Make sure you leave me stuff to talk about on the Facebook page, facebook.com/First Cup Jeremy. And if you like what we're doing, if you want to be part of the mission, you can do what you've done. Show up. If you want to go a little bit deeper, consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. Or you can make a purchase using the code FirstCup15 at whistlekick.com. Wow, you guys are just cranking away with the comments. All right. Well, I'm going to go. I'm kind of tempted to just leave this up for a little while, let you guys keep talking to each other, but we do have tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Friday, woo! And so it's jokes. Frank's going to have some jokes on top of everything else that we do. And if you want to contribute some jokes, feel free. I hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you back here tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Peace.